Welcome to the In Cayman podcast here with Quincy Brown.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mr. Awe, Badir. Awesome. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we have you on. We wasn't sure if we were going to have you on.
On live and direct, let me say, oh my goodness, look how many people we have viewing. Quincy Brown in the house with Badir. Yeah, it was kind of like to be or not to be, says Shakespeare.
That was the question, right? Because I was trying to get him on for a while, but circumstances prevented, but now here you are.
Thanks be to God. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great, and I want to start where you wanted to start just now before we got on the podcast. I was like, wait. Let's get on the podcast. When did we meet?
1995, the summer. I was staying with Auntie V, Virginia Foster, Auntie V.
Yes.
And I was staying with her. Where would that be? Would that be Newlands or Prospect?
Newlands.
Yeah. And Quincy, you are staying here with my mother and I. We are old ladies. We need to get you around some young people,
That's
Quincy.
Right. So her mom was still alive at that point.
Absolutely. And, let's fast forward a bit.
Wait, no, hold on.
No, don't fast forward.
So 1995, how old were we? I was born in 79.
You are 1 year older than I am. Okay. I was born in 1980. Okay. So in 1995, I would have been 15. You would have been 60.
Right.
Interesting.
I didn't think we were that old. I thought we were younger at that point.
Well, the truth of the matter is, I remember when Auntie V used to bring young people over, like Tracy Carter from California. Do you remember visiting Auntie V, Virginia Foster, on the Brac when she lived there?
Yes. So I don't remember meeting you, but I probably did.
This is it. I don't remember meeting you either. And the thing is, the very talented, charismatic, good-looking man that he is, and that's a brother talking to a brother. Don't twist it, please. I would have remembered you. So I don't remember meeting you on the Brac. I remember meeting Badir on Grand Cayman in 1995.
Right. And I remember you were one of the first people ever who would debate me on religion.
Absolutely.
So that was the thing. I was like, wow, this guy's actually debating me about religion.
Well, it's only because Badir here, I'm not sure whether you studied divinity and theology, but it's because you know so much about faith, religion, not only Catholicism, we're both Catholics, but Buddhism, about Scientology. You are a good talk show host because any religion thrown at you, you can debate it, and you've done your research.
But back then we hadn't. I was only 15 or 16 at that time,
you
right?
Were 16.
But we were at it. I was Catholic and you were Protestant, so that was the debate. It was Catholicism versus Protestantism.
You remember that?
Yes. And so you were pushing back. So fancy my surprise when years later you converted to Catholicism. And what year was that?
You planted a seed. The year 2000. I became a Catholic.
Year 2000? So it was only 5 years after?
The great Jubilee year. Monsignor John Andrew Meany, who was retired on Cayman Brac with Missio Sui Juris, the church on a mission, St. Ignatius Catholic Church. But Monsignor John Meany retired on the Brac, and I became a catechumen, and I took instructions with the late Monsignor, and I was received Easter Vigil 2000 into the Holy Roman Catholic Church.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Because you planted a seed. You were one of those during my conversion stories then.
So tell me about that conversion story. I want to know how that process. How did you meet Monsignor?
I'll tell you, I met Monsignor that same trip. Because Auntie V is a storyteller.
So she planted the seed.
She certainly did.
Yeah.
And I'll have you know, she is one of my sponsors. Because as someone, I don't like to use the term convert, because it sounds as if I was never a Christian. Now, if you're an atheist and you become a Christian, you have converted. That's just my personal definition.
Right, I see where you're going with that.
I see it as morphing into the fullness of Christ, because I was always a Christian, just Protestant. Right. So my background as Church of God, Holiness, Wesleyan, Pilgrim, and then as a teenager, a little boy, 6 years old, Church of God. As a teenager, Southern Baptist, as a Baptist little boy. Well, becoming Catholic, that was the icing on the cake, because we're all Christians, But the Roman Catholic Church has the fullness, I find, of Christendom. Auntie V planted the seed. Virginia Foster. I keep saying Auntie V because that's her storytelling name. Auntie V worked as a teacher on Cayman Brac, as a teacher in Grand Cayman, as a librarian, member of St. Ignatius Catholic Church, and she is my sponsor. Virginia Foster and Nick Kong became my sponsors when I was introduced, when I was received. Nick Kong is a Chinese Jamaican married to Lucille, and they have two daughters. One daughter named Amanda, one daughter named Jessica. They have a brother. the Kang family, Chinese Jamaicans, Cayman Brackers, Caymanians. Together, we're all one, you know. So, but Badir, I'm surprised you haven't asked me, because I asked you, how are you doing? And you said, you're great. I thought you were going to say, well, Quincy, how are you doing? Because I was prepared for that. If you had asked me how I'm doing, I would say, well, Badir, if you asked me that 15 months ago or 5 months ago, I would have said, Badir, I'm doing great. But if you asked it to me 5 minutes ago, I would say, Badir, I've just come from having coffee with brothers in Christ. And earlier I was at...
Who's that? Who are they?
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
I can call the names. I just had coffee with Brother Joe and Brother Jude. So what we did was we went to Mass this morning at 7 o'clock.
7 a.m. on Saturday.
Thank you for the correction, 8:30.
Oh, okay.
8:30. Because Monday to Friday at St. Ignatius, we go to Mass at 7. On a Saturday morning, 8:30 a.m.
I didn't even know that. Every Saturday, 8:30 a.m.?
Every Saturday.
Or is it just because Father Joe's here?
Well, Father Joseph Kirkconnell is here, and he said a Mass last evening.
You're right, I was there.
And he's doing, I wasn't because I have a 7 p.m. curfew. That's another question. Ooh. I have to be home at 7 p.m. each day, yes. But I'll be there at 9:30 Sunday morning, tomorrow morning, as it's First Communion. But Father Joseph Kirkconnell celebrates 10 years, May 25th, and Father Tristan Abbott celebrates 10 years on May 31st.
Right.
So May 25th, May 31st.
1 week.
1 week apart. And it's been 10 years.
Can you imagine? It's been 10 years.
Our first two Caymanian priests.
Were you there 10 years ago?
I was. I recall I was sitting in St. Ignatius with my Cayman flag because it was a patriotic moment. Not only are we Caymanians, not only are we're Catholic Caymanians, residents of the Cayman Islands, gathering to witness for the very first time our own, a young man from a good Catholic family, the Kirkconnell family, the White family, the McTaggart family, present a young man who went to school there, who would have had a Catholic education, grew up in the church, and we are witnessing the Archdiocese of Detroit in Cayman laying hands on our very own Caymanian.
Yeah, man.
And I was in there with my Cayman flag. Here's somebody, Mr. Brown, we're going to have to ask you to go outside because the church is getting sort of full and we have tents outside. I say with all due respect, sir, Cayman flag in hand, this is a momentous occasion. And I'm a Caymanian now. I'm not disrespecting your Trinidadian accent and thing, but I stayed inside the church to witness this.
You can do lots of accents. So wait, hold on. So wait, go back to the brothers in Christ.
Right.
Brother Joe is not Joseph Kirkconnell.
Brother Joe is Joe Otu.
Okay.
And Joe Otu has lived in the Cayman Islands since 1982. Mm-hmm. He comes from Ghana. He's like a father to me, like a father figure. Mm. And coming back into the faith now, because sometimes we wonder, we get distracted.
Don't go too far because you might come off the screen there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And talking to the mic as much as possible.
Okay, that's true. Well, I have a voice that carries, but there you go.
You do. I'm not worried.
Okay, Joe Otu is a faithful member of St. Ignatius Catholic Parish. He attends Christ the Redeemer in West Bay River and Blackman Road. Mm-hmm. But we have a routine. We go to Mass every morning, every weekday morning at 7, and we pray together, and he is the father I didn't have. Now, I have my dad in Prospect, and I went to look for Daddy, April 18th, his birthday. But Joe Otu is a mentor. He is a African. So if I start to talk like this, it's because I have a lot of African friends and brothers as well. And I think it is very important for us to unite because but there I here to tell you, I have a lot of friends who are both black and white. So it's very good to spend time with Joe Otu and Brother Jude. Brother Jude is from Hayate, Hayate.
Nice.
Brothers in Christ.
Nice. And so what's Brothers in Christ?
Hermanos en Cristo. It means that we are in the fold of Christ. We have accepted Jesus as our personal Savior. That's Protestant. But what makes us Christians is we're baptized, we're confirmed, and we partake in the Eucharist. That makes us brothers in Christ. Mm-hmm. The thing is, in Catholic parlance, to say brother would mean you're consecrated or a part of a religious order.
Right, exactly.
In Protestants, if you're a Baptist, if you're a Church of God, Seventh-day Adventist, when you say brother or sister, it means member of the church.
Right.
But in the Catholic Church, if I say brother, hi, good morning, brother, or good morning, sister, it means normally that young man or that young woman is a part of a convent, if she's a sister, a nun, or it means the young man is a monk, a novitiate, a brother having taken vows of chastity, evangelical poverty, and obedience.
But that's not what the Brothers in Christ is about. It's just that sort of unofficial name you guys hang
unofficial.
Out.
As
right.
a matter of fact, Badir is not a consecrated. I'm not a brother in the terms of we're a part of the Jesuits or Missionaries of the Poor or the Franciscans, but you and I are brothers in that Jesus Christ is your Redeemer, Jesus Christ is my Redeemer. We're brothers in that sense.
Right.
As Brother Damian used to say, Ian Lambert, may his soul rest in peace. The small...
Was that the name he went by, Brother Damian?
Well, it's a very interesting story, and the Lord leads the way. I didn't realize this was going to be a Catholic interview, but I'm sure you'll go into culture.
We can talk about everything, I'm sure.
And you will. And you know what? Can I tell you something? You're a very good listener. This is what makes Badir Awe a good communicator and a good interviewer. Since I've been on here for the past, I want to say 7 or 8 minutes, I've made a little error here and there, and you've corrected me. So it tells me you are listening to me keenly. That makes you a great communicator and a wonderful interviewer.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Ian Lambert.
There you go.
He was very interesting to me because I didn't know him, but I remember he was a lawyer or an accountant on island. And he sort of, I can't remember if he was at Maples or wherever. But then, you know, I was like in my early 20s. I remember hearing about him, and then he converted to Catholicism or something like that. So he, he sort of left behind this world of finance, I guess, to become a monk. And it was just, and I remember he had sent like this paper, his like sort of like testimony to why he was resigning or whatever and becoming a monk. And I remember reading it. And yeah, I mean, he was just a guy that a lot of people knew on island. And tell me about how you met. Did you meet Ian Lambert?
Absolutely. The gentleman who's now deceased from Ireland, the late Ian Lambert, also known as Brother Damian, became a very good friend of mine. And there are many things he shared with me, and we've shared it with each other, that I shan't disclose, in that he's no longer a part of this realm. And there are certain things one has to keep in the confidence of one's heart. But I'll say this. There are 2 gentlemen I've spent a lot of time with as a young man. The late Monsignor John Andrew Meany of Ireland.
True, very interesting.
And Mr. Ian Lambert.
Also from Ireland.
Also from Ireland, and a very successful former partner of Maples and Calder. I shall not discuss anything about Maples and Calder. I refuse to, because obviously he would have shared a lot of information about his life as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. All good things, perhaps some not so, but that's not what this is about. But what I'll say is, what little I know about the law, and I'm no lawyer, I've learned a lot from my good friend, the late Mr. Ian Lambert, and by reading. But if I should ever offend you and we go to court, I would get myself a lawyer, because anyone who goes to court and pretends to be his own lawyer is a damn fool. So I learned a lot about the law just by listening from my friend, Mr. Ian Lambert.
So how did you meet Ian Lambert? You're both converts to the... No, Ian wasn't, I guess. He was Catholic.
Church of England. He would have been Church of England.
Okay.
So moving forward now, not telling you what to do. This is your show, and I'll say you're doing a very good show. I've watched Matt Brown on your show. I've watched Father Tristan Abbott on your show. I know you have others, but those were my 2 favorites.
Right.
And oh my goodness, look at the numbers growing. A lot of people tuned in. So glad that you're with us. Bring me back in, Ian Lambert. So you would have probably known him before me, see, because he was a very successful partner with Maples and Calder.
So what, did you meet him at the church? Where did you meet him?
Oh, that's right. And we're going to segue in now to the church in ecclesial parlance, in that I knew him then as Brother Damian. Because even though I'm Quincy Harley Brown, I'm also known as Francis, because it's my baptismal confirmation name within the church.
Which Francis? After which saint?
Francis of Assisi.
Okay.
No, I beg your pardon. That came out wrong. I remember when I was getting baptized and confirmed, because I got the triple whammy. Okay. I was baptized, confirmed.
And First Communion.
And First Communion.
Interesting.
The same night, April 22nd in the year 2000, the Easter Vigil, the great Jubilee year.
So you were 20. Wow, you were really young.
19 going 20, because I would have turned 20 June 22nd.
How interesting. So
I was 2 months away from my 20th birthday.
It's not very often a 20-year-old will sort of convert like that. That's pretty interesting.
I was searching for truth. I've always been a Christian boy, 6 years old in the Church of God Holiness, 13, 14, 15 years old in the Baptist churches on Cayman, Brac.
So
I was always searching. I wanted more. And there was something about the Catholic Church that I found very attractive.
So let me ask you, we didn't find out how you met Ian, but we'll get there.
We'll get back there.
So what was the hardest part about becoming Catholic? Because I remember, I don't really remember what we were talking about when we first met, when we were 15 or 16, but I remember usually one of the arguments between Catholics and Protestants is Mary, or you guys worship Mary and the Eucharist. Mm-hmm. So were those difficult hurdles for you to come over, to sort of get over? Like how all of a sudden as a Protestant, you're not even really praying or thinking about Mary to become a Catholic, and then all of a sudden, there's prayers, there's the rosary, there's this whole, dedication and devotion to the Mother. What was that hurdle like? Was it a big hurdle for you?
Not at all. Not at all. And I don't say that to abbreviate it, because I tend to be long-winded. But these things that most Protestants cannot accept, by the grace of God, I accepted. The Blessed Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception, the Assumption, the real presence of the Eucharist, going to confession to a priest, things that make Catholics Catholics. It was if, by the grace of God, these things were not major hurdles. I didn't turn my back on Jesus Christ, because I was a Christian from getting saved, asking Jesus into your heart. I've always been Ebenezer Baptist Church, Crossroad United Baptist Church, Church of God Holiness Watering Place, the Church of the Honorable Premier, the Honorable Juliana Yvonne O'Connor Connolly, Church of God Spot Bay, which is tied into Wesleyan Holiness, Pilgrim Holiness. So I was always in the faith. So, but some of them felt, well, you're leaving us. Are you defecting? Not at all. Just see it like this. As a little boy, I enjoyed eating vanilla cake. When I became Catholic, the icing was put on the cake.
Right.
So, yes, I pray the rosary. There's a special love in my heart for the Blessed Virgin Mary. I do not worship the Blessed Virgin Mary. I venerate her. I see her as an instrument that God used to do his work in the incarnation. I see Mary as a holy woman. And women in our society should emulate, I think, the modesty, the purity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Muslims, women do.
Interesting, huh?
Islam respect the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now they don't believe that Christ was the savior of the world.
Although they do believe he was a prophet.
They do believe he was a prophet, as Bob Marley was a prophet, yes.
Right.
But, not comparing Jesus, the Christ, with Bob Marley, but they were both prophets, just that Jesus is the savior, the redeemer of the world. Now, that's my belief. Now, I am aware that you have viewers watching who are not religious, and thank you for putting up with me, but that is my belief, because I don't believe in pushing my belief system down somebody else's throat. But you're the interviewer, you're asking the questions, I'm giving you the answers.
Yeah, no, I think that was very interesting. I never actually really spoke to you about your conversion process and, how that was. And yeah. I do remember asking you once and you telling me Monsignor Meany was a big, factor in that.
Yes, but people like yourself, the Awe family, your mom and your dad, especially you, because I want to say your sisters, but I remember you got 18 CXC passes, 21 IG. You are so brilliant, and I always admired your brilliance and your smarts, because I wasn't, you see, and I could learn from you. Yeah, well,
whatever.
16 plus.
I think you and I are very similar. I think we're both ENTPs.
What that mean?
It's like the Myers-Briggs personality test.
And what that mean?
Union Analytical Psychology.
Honestly, what does it mean?
It means we're extroverted intuitives, which means that we can sort of visualize concepts and ideas very well, and we do it in an extroverted way. We like to publicize those things.
That white call, I've been wondering what we're going to term it, because what he just said goes on in my mind. Interesting. So that white call.
And there's other different layers, but I think you and I are similar in that I think we're both bright. I don't know about you, but I had issues in school until I went to college. I didn't like school. I would skip school. It was, so maybe I got a couple passes, but I definitely got a couple failures as well.
I'm learning more about you, Badir.
Yeah, I don't know what makes you think I got all these CXC passes.
Because you see, one should never assume. Never assume one is good. Never assume one is bad. Listen to their experiences. You just struck me someone who's got it all together. Has a mom and a dad in the family, a nuclear family, Christian family, goes to school, structured, disciplined. This man must be getting 8 or 9 O-levels, 6 A-levels, and is going to University of Loyola or Quincy University in Illinois.
So where did you graduate? What school?
I graduated from the Cayman Brac High School, CBHS, now known as the Layman E. Scott Senior High School in Cayman Brac in the year 1997. Mm-hmm. You graduated from John Gray or St. Ignatius?
No, it was John Gray, 96.
John Gray High.
Yeah. So St. Ignatius, I missed St. Ignatius by a year. So I was too old to enter the inducting class or whatever.
I see.
Yeah. So I was the public system from middle school onwards.
Yeah.
So when did you come to Cayman?
I moved to Grand
Cayman, sorry.
I'm glad you said that because as someone who is preparing to record Beloved Isle Cayman.
Record like the song?
By Leela Ross Sher McTaggart.
Yeah.
Leela Ross Sher, Beloved Isle Cayman.
I know her. We know her very well.
Well,
what do you mean you're about to record it?
We know of her work. We've never met her, right?
No, well, we know, her work tells us a lot about her.
Beloved Isle Cayman.
Yeah.
She wrote that in the Bay Islands. She was living in the Bay Islands in the 1930s, and it's a love song. It's a lullaby of wanting to return home. That's why it's such a poetic, oh, land of soft, fresh breezes, of verdant trees so fair.
That's one of the best pieces of work ever created, like in Cayman. That's one thing everyone just rallies behind.
Absolutely.
It's a great song.
So which means God used her to make it the national, because any song can be a national song, but why that one? Because it has if you're overseas, it has a visceral pull that wants you to come home. If you're in Cayman, and I say all of that to say this, whether you're on Grand, Brac, or Little, you are in Cayman.
Right.
Once I said that to a politician and I got myself in trouble. Who are you to tell me what that means, you upstart?
And the thing about the song is that she's talking about the Isle.
Beloved Isle.
And then it's like, well, which Isle? So there's always this controversy. She's talking about Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, you know.
Obviously.
Should we just say Isles and call it a day?
Saying Isles, and I do hope that my English teachers listening, saying Isles would not be grammatically correct. So she's obviously talking about Grand Cayman. But when we grew up on Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, we always talked about tomorrow going Cayman. So even living on the sister islands,
right?
we referred to Grand Cayman as Cayman, but we're known as the Cayman Islands, not the Caymans. The Bahamas, yes, but we're known as the Cayman Islands, and we're Caymanian, not Caymanian.
So when you came to Grand?
1997, to live, to work, as in moving?
Yeah, as in, you know.
Because I used to visit Grand Cayman all the time.
Right.
But I moved to Grand Cayman. Wow, you're really getting a lot of people tuning on. Good. I moved to Grand Cayman
97.
in 1997.
So after you graduated?
After I graduated. So I would have moved to Grand Cayman, first time getting a job.
So you went, what do you do?
Worked at Grace Christian Academy as a teacher's aide and as a concierge at the Hyatt Regency Grand Cayman.
Oh, no way. You were at the Hyatt Regency Grand Cayman. I did a summer there as a PBX operator.
PBX!
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here at the Hyatt Regency Grand Cayman. How may I direct your call?
949-1234.
Wow, so you were at that hotel as well.
And I mean, back in those days.
And you were concierge?
I was a concierge.
Yeah, that's perfect for you.
Thank you for taking. Good afternoon. This is Mr. Blah, blah, blah. Take that. You see, this is when we don't edit.
A couple of times you would mess up when you answered the phone. Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, but it's not how you fall, it's how you recover. So let me take that again.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Bowerman. How are you? Yes, thank you for calling concierge. Your bottle of champagne will be delivered to your room presently. Thanks for calling concierge. That was a fun job. That was a very fun job, getting to interact with the guests, our visitors to Cayman.
Right.
I enjoyed working as a concierge at the Hyatt. And my first job, because I always wanted to be a teacher, my first job, and I want to thank the then principal of Grace Christian Academy, Mrs. Samantha Tibbetts, for giving me an opportunity to work as a teacher's aide, a teacher's assistant, at 17 years old. Just got my driver's license. What a hefty responsibility to place on the shoulders of a 17-year-old. How did I do? Lord, it's in my memoir.
Yes, I hear you're writing one.
I am. Mr. Alric Lindsay told me from June or July of 2021, before I went to Jamaica, I spent some time. I've gone to Jamaica for medical purposes, for educational purposes, and to volunteer with Father Ho Long. But I had to go to...
Oh, really? You volunteered with Father Ho Long?
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Father Richard Ho Long.
He writes some good songs, man.
Oh, he is the ghetto priest, a former Jesuit turned Missionaries of the Poor priest. But I was going to Jamaica July of 2021. I was at the Tony Twaits Hospital, and Alric Lindsay said to me, Quincy, you ever thought about an audio book or doing a memoir?
Right,
I'm like, no, Alric, no, Mr. Lindsay. Jesus didn't write a book. It's always the gospel according to Mark, Luke, and John.
Right.
Jesus left no writings behind.
Yeah.
And look, if he bent down to write in the sand.
I always wonder what he wrote.
Well, because after he wrote what he wrote, he took his foot and he just brushed it away. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. John 8:7. But he bent down at one point. Yeah. Then he rose. Not one of the warm, but heads could pelt one rock out. I guess why? They were all sinners, as we all are.
Right.
But so we have to go back to Ian Lambert. We have to go back to Jamaica. So I am writing a memoir.
Right. And Alric recommended that.
Yeah.
You got to bring Alric on the podcast. Alric,
absolutely. And listen, but once I write, because writing is rewriting what has been written, and sometimes you get writer's block.
Writing is rewriting what has been written?
You're an excellent listener. Yes.
Explain that.
There's nothing new. Yes, this is by Badir Awe. Let me read this essay. Yes, this is by Quincy Brown. But you can guarantee there's nothing new under the sun. It's your writing. You might string the words differently. But tell me something that I've never heard before. Can I tell you something you haven't heard before? Let me expound. Well, I'll keep it simple. There's nothing new under the sun. It's your work of art, but it's all a part of the human existence.
Right.
So telling my story would be unique. You tell your story.
Right.
But, if it's really good, the books will sell. It might become a short film or a movie, which I see Sundance, I see some films, and I wonder, well, how did that ever make it? And then there's some really good scripts that never make a movie. It's like songs, but I'm writing a memoir. It's my story. I'm writing 2 books, as a matter of fact. You see, I go from doing absolutely nothing to doing everything, right? So I'm writing 2 books.
Yeah.
Quincy Brown, a memoir. And I'm writing another book called...
What?
A story of someone struggling with drugs and alcohol. It's called The Struggles... Drug Culture, Drug Influence. That's the title of the book. Drug Culture, Drug Influence, the story of someone's struggle in the Cayman Islands. So I spend time writing a chapter one day. Sometimes it takes a month to write a chapter because some days you just don't feel like writing. But two books in the making. If it's the will of the Lord, I'll get them published. If it's not the Lord's will, then it's just diary interest. It's therapy to get things out. And then I'm working on an album. Sean Hinnings is producing me with an album called Quincy. So
nice.
That's what I've been spending.
So is that what you're filming, recording Beloved Isle Cayman for, that album?
It's a strong possibility that on the 10-track CD, it's a 10-track album. Even though there might be a bonus or 2. I don't know. The producer will decide. But Beloved Isle Cayman, and let me tell you something. Benil Miller, Sean Hinnings, and myself, we're coming up with a never-before-heard version of the national song. Will it make the final cut? Will it make it on the Quincy album?
We shall see.
We shall see.
So what about the other songs? Who wrote those?
Where am I going to get $10,500 from? The Lord provides. Making music is expensive, you know that, right?
Yeah,
especially if you're going to get it to an international standard.
Right.
I'm a local boy from Cayman, but we're making music that's going to go around the world. It takes money. What was your question?
Who's writing the songs?
Sean Hinnings has written 2 of the songs, and there are a lot of covers. Okay. Drinking from My Saucer is, for the first time, being professionally remastered.
Okay.
That song is not even written by Michael Combs, even though if you go to YouTube and you put in Drinking from My Saucer, if you see Quincy Brown, I have thousands of views. If you go to Michael Combs and Jabez from Jamaica, they have millions of views, but none of us wrote it. We don't know who wrote it, but Michael Combs gets the credits. I haven't been sued.
Who's Michael Combs?
Michael Combs is Not For Sale, is the name of his album. And he never made it to the big times. Michael Combs and Vern Gosden. Vern Gosdin decided to sing for Jesus. Let's go gospel. Because Alan Jackson made it in country. Alan Jackson. Name. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like living in a house with no curtains. The whole world can see what's inside. Alan Jackson, country singer.
I can't wait to hear this album. That's exciting. Where you all have you started recording it?
Yeah, man.
Where?
Absolutely. We're recording at Raw Studios.
Where's that?
Professional studio in West Bay.
Nice. Haven't heard of that one yet.
That's fine. You have a studio too. And they're mini studios. The thing is, I'm just trusting my producer, Sean Hennings. This is going to be an amazing album. Is it pop? Is it religious? Is it gospel? Is it folk songs? It's going to have a bit of everything. It shows the diversity of the talent we have in Cayman. It's my first solo album, and it's simply called Quincy, produced by Sean Hennings.
Nice. And Benil's a part of it.
Benil is. So when we do Beloved Isle Cayman, we have invited Benil to be a part of it. It's going to be, I'm not going to say any more on it because it's a special work of art we're doing to make all Caymanians and residents and people who call Cayman home proud to hear Beloved Isle Cayman.
When's it being released, the album?
We have a window from 2024 to 2026. Why so long? It all depends on how quickly we can get money. Remember now, I'm unemployed. I have become persona non grata in certain circles of my misbehavior of the past. So it takes time to build community confidence. So in other words, I've sent my resume out to 40 companies across the Cayman Islands. No response. We won't go any further with that.
Yeah. Well, apply for the CNCF grant.
I have, and they said I need to give more information. Not enough details. I have.
You have tons of details. But,
it has been suggested by the bourgeoisie of the Cayman Islands, those persons in the higher echelons of society, and those persons with money, that it doesn't look good for me to be begging on social media. It doesn't look good. It's kind of like guilting people to give. Because there are people in Cayman that could give me $10,000 right now, or $50,000, CI, not US. But I've been doing these, hi, I'm Quincy Brown. I'm recording an album, and I don't have the money. God has blessed you with so much. Could you help me to $1,000, please? Or if you can only afford to give me $5, I accept. Somebody say, Quincy, stop that. That's not how you ask for money. You're guilting people into giving. And so what I've done, I'm not putting out those videos no more. But it worked. It got me $1,300 just doing it that way.
Okay, well, do what you need to do.
This is it. Well,
whatever brings in the money.
Well, you know what? I'm going to listen to my advisors. Because if there are 5 wealthy families in the Cayman Islands, and we have more than 5. And 2 members out of the 5 wealthy families says, Quincy, don't do it that way, please. I'm going to take their advice. I'm not going to do it like that anymore because when the time is right, this album will be completed. And I'm not going to call names. I'm not going to shame anybody. I'm not going to make anybody feel guilty. It is going to take $10,000 CI to get this album done. Yeah. Initially, I was asking for $2,000. But guess what? If it is the will of God, it's going to happen. You know, we are to be servants of the mystery, not masters of the future. Money is not a god. Don't take Bitcoin, the future. Money it's given to us to be used. We control it. Don't let money control us. What does God think about money? Well, just look at who he allows to control it. We're not even going to get into capitalism and socialism. It's not that conversation. Ian Lambert, Brother Damian.
Yes. How did you meet him and what was your experience like with him? Because you two seem kind of like different kind of people.
I first met Mr. Ian Lambert on Cayman Brac. He was visiting for a weekend. He had come to see Monsignor Meany, and he was still a practicing lawyer at Maples and Calder. But that weekend meet was very brief. He was professional looking, rather dapper, well-dressed and well-spoken. But I wouldn't have seen him until maybe 5 years later or 10 years later. I don't know how much time elapsed. But when I saw him again, he was no longer Ian Lambert. He was then Brother Damian. He was searching. He was discerning a vocation either to priesthood. He and I went to Jamaica together once to volunteer with Father Richard Holong and Missionaries of the Poor.
Okay.
He said, Quincy, just step out in faith and, so get... I said, and I'm going to money buy my ticket, Brother Damian. Oh, just bring what you have. I remember going to the airport that morning, stepping out in faith. I said, all I got is a 25 cent. Now you see man pulling his credit card. Right, I'm going to have to pay for this. But we went to Jamaica. Brother Damian and I went to Jamaica, and we volunteered with Missionaries of the Poor. I've gone about 3 or 4 times over the years. He spent a very long time with Missionaries of the Poor, actually in Jamaica, in Africa, and I think in a Asian country in the Orient. I'm not sure now with that, the Philippines, or was it Singapore? I'm not sure. But Brother Damian, the late Brother Damian, gave a lot of his time and a lot of his treasure to charities in Cayman, but also to Missionaries of the Poor. Father Richard Holong in Jamaica. He was searching. He became what we call an acolyte. So he never became a priest.
Right.
He never became. He was which comes first, an aspirant or a novitiate?
I don't know.
Neither do I, but put it this way, he was thinking he was being called to become a brother within Missionaries of the Poor.
Okay.
And he was with them, I want to say, for 1 full year or maybe 2 full years. I can't remember, but it did not work out. And he came back to the Brac, and he spent time there. I would have spent time with him in prayer. This is why I'm very careful when I speak about the late Brother Damian, a.k.a. Monsignor Lambert, because he shared so much with me that I don't want to break the confidence. He's not here to defend himself physically because he's transitioned on to the other side. And there's certain things you just hold in the confidence of your heart. But anything to do with Catholicism and Brother Damian, let's talk about it. Anything to do with what he told me about the law and co-workers, I don't want to talk about that. Not saying that it was bad. It's just that certain things we just...
Sure. So tell me about Holong.
Enter into Jerusalem, let us go to God's house. Enter into Jerusalem, alleluia. A songwriter, a musician.
Sailing across the river, sailing. Freedom
in the life of Jesus. So,
Hosanna, hold your hand, my friend. Hosanna, give you strength, my friend. Hosanna, you walk the sea, my friend. We're gonna sail to victory. Sailing across the river.
Sailing. Father Richard Holong. And the thing is, this is how you raise money too. You don't beg. You have what you call, I can see it now in Jamaica, the national arena. You have what you call Father Holong and Friends, where across Jamaica, whether you're Pentecostal, you're Adventist, you're Baptist, you're Catholic, you're Anglican, it is truly a spirit of ecumenism. Father Holong and Friends. The Friends are members of the Christian community. Ecumenism, coming together. You're a songwriter, you're an actor, you're a dancer, you're a performer. You put a show together, Jesus 2000, Moses, Joseph. There's so many productions, theatrical productions that Father Holong has put on at National Arena, here in Cayman, in the United States. And monies from the sales of tickets and donations from these major productions is what goes to feeding and helping and assisting the poorest of the poor. But Father Holong has a very interesting story, is that he is a former Jesuit priest. And like Saint Teresa of Calcutta, Mother Teresa, who was a part of the Nuns of Loreto, I think. So Father Holong, Richard Holong of Jamaica, a Buddhist. He's coming from Chinese Buddhism. So he converted to Christianity.
I didn't realize that.
Yes. Okay. He's Chinese Jamaican, so his background would have been Buddhism, all right? So a Jesuit priest teaching at university, lecturing at university, saying the daily mass, the Society of Jesuits, that's a very
prestigious. I had no idea he was a Jesuit.
That's correct.
So he's pretty smart.
Very smart. Very smart. Very focused. Education. Discipline. Talented. Mother Teresa was a sister with the Nuns of Loreto, but both had a call to start their own order. Now, you just don't get up one day and start your own order. It has to be approved by the Vatican. You have to get local approval, bishops, archbishops, whatever. But both are recognized. Look at Mother Teresa's order, Sisters of Charity in Calcutta, India. Look at Father Richard Holong's order in Jamaica, Missionaries of the Poor. Both recognized as religious communities, religious orders in the Catholic Church. So he thought, God, what are you calling me to do other than being a university lecturer as a priest and saying mass. I need to get my hands dirty. I need to be serving the poorest of the poor. But Mother Teresa's story is similar. So they went to the ghetto, the streets of Kolkata, India. Jaya, hey, Jaya, 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 Jaya. Namaste. Mother Teresa, do not be forgetting that Mother Teresa was not born in India, but rather she is Albanian. Father Richard Holong.
I didn't know that.
Mother Teresa.
She's Albanian.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Huh.
Her last name is Agnes, if my memory serves me correctly.
She a saint now?
She is, which means she has been canonized. Because when you're beatified, you're blessed. When you're canonized, you become a saint. Saint Teresa of Kolkata. Father Richard Holong is still very much alive. He was in the Philippines, I think, for many years. Let me take that back. He was in the Philippines for a while during COVID, in that you couldn't travel during 2019, 2020, 2021. The world shut down. But I'm not sure whether if is Father Holong in America now, the Philippines, or is he back in Jamaica? I don't know. But the amazing work of brothers and now sisters continues. It's service to the poorest of the poor. And Grand Cayman has a local chapter of Missionaries of the Poor as well. Contact Mr. Jenison Nunes.
Cool. I love that.
Yep.
So I got a question. Who's your favorite saint and why?
My favorite saint, you've put me on a spot, but I'll tell you. The natural tendency would be to just say my...
St. Francis? So you didn't tell me which St. Francis.
That's right. Thank you. It wasn't St. Francis of Assisi, because when I was being baptized, who is my favorite saint? St. John Bosco? No, my two favorite saints is... Well, I'm having to think about it, so I need to give that some thought.
Give me the two. Did you say John Bosco?
Well, no. It's remembered during those that stood up, both in England. It was during the time Henry VIII, and he had both heads cut off. Oh Lord, help me bring back.
Oh yeah,
not Thomas More.
Thomas More.
One is More and one is Fisher.
Okay.
All right, so they're the last names.
Okay.
Moore and Fisher.
Okay.
Maybe you can Google it quickly. The two saints.
So why them? Why were they so inspired?
Because they were so, I'll tell you what, to the very bitter end. They would not bow to King Henry VIII or to Anglicanism. They held fast to Rome, to the Bishop of Rome. Saints John Fisher and Saints Thomas More. They're my two favorite saints. Because, in other words, take my life. I will die for my beliefs and for Christ. So, I will not compromise.
So Thomas More is the patron saint of statesmen, politicians, lawyers, and civil servants, etc.
And Fisher?
It just says he was invoked for courage by those who were persecuted.
Yes.
But cool, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one come in.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, this is kind of spontaneous too. The Spirit is leading. I look to these two men, and one has a feast day close to my birthday, which is in June. On my birthday, I think.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is, I look to these two men as saints for courage. We have to pray for our political leaders. We have to pray for our pastors. But my patron saint is Saint Francis de Sales, who was a writer, Bishop of Geneva, and got a lot of persons who defected from the church back.
That's true. He was kind of around during the sort of Reformation.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he is the patron saint of writers and journalists.
He is an amazing writer. Which books have you read? I've only read Introduction to the Devout Life.
Correct.
Wow.
And I've read that as well. That's
like poetry, man. Like every line is just like amazing.
Let me tell you, amazing writer.
Yeah.
The Devout Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just any chapter you go to is just like...
It's a little tiny black book, isn't it? About this thick.
Yeah. Not the biggest book in the world, but not small either.
It was a good read.
Yeah, man.
It was a good read.
St. Francis de Sales. So that's your patron saint?
That's my patron saint. So when I was baptized, confirmed, received into the Holy Catholic Church, I was thinking, Monsignor said, well, Quincy, you have to choose a patron saint. I said, Monsignor, I think I'm going with Francis of Assisi. He said, oh, no. Can you imagine? The flamboyant Francis of Assisi. He says, Quincy, I suggest you go with Francis de Sales. So I listened to my spiritual director, my spiritual advisor, and I selected St. Francis de Sales, and I have not regretted it. Francis de Sales, patron saint of journalists and writers. But now, what a long-winded way of answering your question. I look to Thomas More and
John Fisher.
John Fisher as two of my favorite saints. Politicians, pastors, we pray for courage. Perhaps that's why?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why is they were put to death for their faith.
Right.
Now, they could have easily said, we're not going to be obedient to the Pope. Instead, we're going to say, God save our gracious King, who becomes the head of the Church of England, who is now head of the state, and who now becomes, and to this day, whoever is sovereign of the United Kingdom is technically the head of the Anglican Church.
Right.
Because Henry VIII broke away. But these two gentlemen, Thomas More and John Fisher, said, put us to death. We will not turn from the faith of the founding fathers, the early church fathers. We will die Catholic. Powerful story.
Speaking of God Save the King, I believe it or not, I just heard us sing the song God Save the King instead of God Save the Queen at Emancipation Weekend at Elmslie Church when the girl sang it. And I was shocked when she said King, because I was so used to my whole life saying, God save our gracious Queen.
Absolutely.
I was expecting that. And then when she said King, I was like, what? Oh yeah, it's the King. This is a new song now.
Yes. It's the national anthem of the Cayman Islands. Beloved Isle Cayman is the national song, but because we are a British territory, we sing God Save the King. And interestingly enough, the former Prince Charles, who's now King Charles III, spent so many years in the wing under his mother.
True that,
the late Elizabeth II, Regina, Her Majesty the late Queen. How long will he reign? Probably not too long.
Not as long as his mom.
Well, definitely not. And but now his son, King William, who's now Prince William, the Prince of Wales, is already in training, because remember now, His Majesty King Charles III is recovering from a bout of cancer. We send our thoughts with the royal family and with King Charles III for his speedy recovery. But because he's now 74, 75, if he has another 10, 20 years, he would have done very well. Perhaps less. Who knows? I'm not a soothsayer. But how can we celebrate emancipation, which means to be free from slavery, which means to be free from political rule, which means to be free from sin? I am emancipated from sin because Christ is my Savior. I'm emancipated from slavery because the proclamation has been proclaimed. Massa, look your hoe, look your shovel, look your rake. Missy, look your potter, look your spoon, look your plate. Freedom come, oh freedom come. Thank you for freedom, freedom come. O rumela je la begun kubere. O rumela je baba la begun kubere. I am no longer a slave. I am free. That's emancipation.
Right.
But how can we say we are emancipated if we're still bound by the shackles of colonialism? During emancipation or freedom, we sing God Save the King. It means we're not free politically. And most people of the Cayman Islands, politicians, pastors, Caymanians, residents, foreign nationals who now live here, you will get your Cayman status, just hang on, who live here, don't want Cayman to become politically independent.
True.
Can you have emancipation without independence? I know in other Caribbean islands, they celebrate emancipendence. So I find it rather fascinating that the same persons who would have been a part of slavery, the same persons who were still pledging allegiance to, pledge allegiance to the king, God save the king. You talk about, what's the word? When they're paying back
restitution?
Right, is that the word?
It's a word.
It's a word, but it's another word for it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas, but they're not paying those who were slaves, you know. They're paying out persons who were slave masters.
Right.
Former slave masters.
Right.
It's something we need to talk about. Some would argue, because there's some in Cayman who are not happy that the celebration of emancipation has been brought back. I'm telling you. I won't call names. I won't call which civic organizations or clubs that they're a part of. Because
it was a great weekend.
It was a wonderful weekend, and kudos to the Minister of Heritage for bringing it back, he and his team, and moving, because it had been something like 60 years. It hadn't been
celebrated.
Cayman was one of the first islets in the Caribbean, if not the first, one of, to receive emancipation. And we must honor people like Long Celia, just like how our Jamaican brothers and sisters honor Nani of the Maroons. We must honor Long Celia, who said, look here, We're free, you know. Unheard of, what we're free. And Sarah, that gap-seeding, backbiting brute, went back and said, she out there talking, Bakra man. Well, not Bakra man, because Sarah would have been. Bakra is for white. Negro is colored. So we have a lot to talk about. And you listen to people like J.A. Roy Barton, Dr. Frank McField, Dr. Steve McField. Read a book, John Creighton, about our history. There's a lot of history, but slavery was there, and we were first to get it. But you see, our colonial masters of the day, and let's not talk it too much. Let's not, let's not let them know that we're free. But Long Senior said, we're free on an unheard of one. And she got 50 lashes across her back for that. Hogstye Bay was known for a place for public lashings of slaves back in the day. My question is, and it's a rhetorical question moving forward, to our members of parliament and to civic organizations, leaders, and to the foreign financial interests in this country, those who call the shots. Can we really celebrate emancipation and be free without political independence? Will we always be a territory, or will we live to see the day when Islas Cayman, the Cayman Islands, becomes politically independent? They're rhetorical questions.
But is that what you would want to see?
I've been writing about that from I was in my 20s.
Writing about what?
About Cayman's freedom, Cayman's independence, Cayman's emancipation. I used to be a journalist,
Well, your patron saint is St. Francis de Sales, so you definitely picked a good saint.
That's right.
You're writing your memoirs, so yeah, I believe you're a writer. But
but you see, when you're a civil servant, I got all my opportunities in my teenage years and 20s. I used to work for Radio Cayman. If you're working for the broadcasting department, which is a part of government, civil servants, no matter whether you're CBC, you're a fire officer, you're a police officer, you're HSA, whatever, once you work for government.
Yeah, sure.
I was working in the seat where the information is, a broadcasting station. And I was very vocal. I wasn't fired. I used to drink heavily in those days. I resigned from Radio Cayman. It was great years. Had wonderful employees, fellow employees. I had, to this day, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Norman McField, my former boss, Mr. Loxley Banks. But what I'm saying is, in those days, I wrote a letter about the Cuban situation.
Yes.
Dear editor of the newspaper, I believe that the Cubans, and I signed my name. I got in trouble for that because as a civil servant, who are you to have the audacity to write to the editor of a newspaper, say your piece, and sign your name? Anybody who's smart would have put anonymous. But I've always believed if I have something to say, if I call a talk show, this is Quincy Brown. If I write a letter to the newspaper.
Everybody knows who you is when you call in.
Yeah, well, the thing in my voice, and I thank God for that. It's both a blessing and a curse, but it's more a blessing because by God's grace, my name became a household name from I was 12 years old as a performer, but more so when I worked on the national radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM on Grand Cayman, 105.3 is Breeze FM, the sister station, The Voice. So The Voice is, so I thank God for that grace. I need to just be careful what I say and to whom I speak.
So you think we should be independent?
I've often believed. Yes.
Why?
It's the only how we'll become our own. It is the only how, as Caymanians, like you and me, and the young people and the older people will get to decide, we don't want certain things to happen here. As it stands now, if the United Kingdom says, as of tomorrow, Islam, this is far-fetched. I love you, my Muslim brothers and sisters. Trust me. Right. Whatever the UK says, we have to do. The buck stops with the United Kingdom. Whoever holds the office of governor represents 10 Downing Street and represents the crown. Now, we have had some very good governors, and it's a pleasure to meet our current governor, Mrs. Jane Owen. Very pleasant. Likes to dance, jovial, very amiable, very friendly with the local people. But remember, members of the royal family and diplomats, they're not our friends. They're friendly, but they're not our friends. At the end of the day, anyone who holds the office of British governor of the Cayman Islands must do. They represent the crown. Great Britain. Great Britain. It's a very thin line to have to toe. I would like to see the day, and I used to write about things like this in my 20s. Government House should be called Caymanian House. It should be filled with artwork of Cayman Islands. It should be a Caymanian in there. I've often said that we should have our own parliament. Yeah, but don't we have a parliament? Well, we've moved from legislative assembly to parliament, but it's not the full parliament in that we don't have a prime minister. We still haven't defined certain things. It says House of Parliament on it, yes, but it's like what Mr. Douglas Calder once said, and he wrote this in a newspaper back in 2003 during the quincentennial year.
Is this from Maples and Calder?
No comment. What I'll say is, if you go back to the Cayman Compass archives of 2003, during the quincentennial year, there is a letter, I can't tell you the month or the date. There's a letter penned by Mr. Douglas Calder, with all due respect, and he makes very salient points. Stop referring to Cayman as a nation. National this, national that. We are not a nation.
Interesting.
But he makes, and politically, he's correct.
Right.
We're not a nation. But then Dave Martins of the Trade Winds, living in the Cayman Islands today is fascinating in every way. So once a year we have to sit down and laugh at all of it and run down. Dave Martins came back with a song. Da 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 da, like a da-da, that's Cayman, that's Cayman. I don't remember all the lyrics, but in the line, he says, those who say Cayman is not a nation legally, it seems to me they've missed the point entirely. It's a beautiful song. But so that's a line right back to the letter that was penned by Mr. Douglas Calder. Cayman is not a nation. But he's right. We're not a sovereign. Jamaica is a nation. Barbados is a nation. Now, another definition of a nation is a group of people living together. In that sense, yes. But when you talk about nationalism, this is our national currency, which we have our own currency. The national this, the national that. We're still a colony. We're still territory. Jamaica is actually a realm, but Jamaica is an independent country. The United Kingdom, 10 Downing Street, Parliament in London does not tell the Prime Minister of Jamaica, you have to do this. They can make suggestions. They control their own destiny. So in other words, in order for Caymanians to determine their own destiny, a marriage is between a man and woman. I have many gay friends. A family is a family is a family. Rosie O'Donnell. The rainbow-colored fraternity. That's now accepted. Gay unions. Now, please don't see me as a religious prig. Please don't see me as picking on the gay community, because I believe it's a choice. I could be gay. I could be bi. I could be tri. I can do anything I put my mind to. But I made you laugh. I used to be a comedian. But I choose Christ. What would Jesus do? So I tend to gravitate toward my spirituality. I am religiously spiritual. Spiritually religious.
We have 5 minutes because you got to go.
That's right.
I want to know, because I don't know what your opinion is of Fidel Castro. And I've heard you talk about Fidel Castro, but I don't know where you sit. Because you just brought up the Cuba situation. You brought it up a couple sentences ago.
No, you're right.
Yes.
And I got in trouble for it because at that time I was a civil servant.
Right. Have you been to Cuba?
Many times. I like to tell people Cuba made me a man. Dun, da, da, dun, dun, da, 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 dun, dun, da, da, dun, dun, da, 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 da. My days as a philandering around the towns of Havana. God bless the Cuban people. National hero Jose Marti. I would rather not talk about Cuba. And I'll tell you why. And I get teary-eyed because I think of country and what it takes to take your country back. So it would be in my best interest, because these days I actually listen to my advisors and I have a lawyer. Those who know me well enough know how I feel about the late Dr. Fidel Castro Ruiz of the Republic of Cuba, the former president. The president is now President Miguel Canal, who's a very quiet man. We don't hear much from him. But I will not tell you what I think about Fidel Castro. I will not talk about communism. And socialism. Go back to the archives of Cayman Net News and Cayman Compass. Listen back to when
it's all there. Cayman Net News. Wow, I forgot about that.
Well, if you Google it, you can't find it. I can tell you that. Cayman 27, off the air. Where did all those tapes go? You see, if we're not recording our history, why is it if you Google or you try to go to Cayman Net News, which they were transitioning.
I figured the internet had started. It was Net News, right? I figured it was like an internet.
And they were online. They had a hard copy of the newspaper and they were online. But yet, try finding things from Cayman Net News 15 or 20 years ago. It's not there.
Right.
Now you can find stuff from Cayman Compass. But we need to write. But what hurt me was when Cayman 27 went black.
A lot of people still miss that.
Well, why? I mean, Jamaica will never allow TVJ to go black or shut down. That's our sister to the east of us, to the southeast, Jamaica. We have a lot of opportunities here. But if it's the will of God, Cayman 27 could come back. I think we have a lot of money here to bring it back. Or it might come back with a new name. I mean...
Well, one of the reasons I do this podcast is because I like to think that years from now, this will still exist and people will be able to come and see this interview.
Well, this is the way.
We're long gone.
Yep.
Oh, look, there's Quincy. Yeah, we heard about that guy.
There's Badir Awe. Awesome production. That's right.
And they can get a glimpse into, the past.
But this is a glimpse of into the past because this is what the future is now, and it's only going to improve and get better.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of a TV. How many people watch the TV on the wall or the TV set? Everyone's watching this.
Yeah, it's true. I don't watch TV on the wall.
YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Speaker. Spreaker.com. Zoom. There's another one called when you want to do, Facebook Live. And you can find me on Facebook, but I'm no longer on Facebook. My advisors, legal advisors and spiritual advisors say, take a break from social media. So I'm not on social media, only WhatsApp. I do some YouTube as well. But YouTube TV and what's it called? Spirit Yard or Real Yard?
No, I don't know.
It's like TV on the internet.
Okay.
But who knows? But we miss Cayman 27. Oh my goodness. Island 24. Cayman Life TV. April Cummings.
CITV.
CITN. This is CITN. The news with Donna Bush. Remember those days? And April Cummings. And
CITV on UHF Channel 33. It's free. It's free.
You remember that?
Hey.
Yeah, man.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
We didn't have a local channel until CITV.
That's right.
Yeah.
CITV.
So we were probably about 15 or 16 when that came out.
I would say, wasn't that 1992, 1993?
Sounds about right.
12, 13.
Yeah.
My first television interview was with Charles Glidden and Barry Quappe on Daybreak.
Cool.
I would have been 12 or 13 years old. I was very nervous, first time on TV. Guess who set that up?
Who?
Auntie V, Virginia Foster.
Auntie V, you think she's watching this one?
Auntie V's definitely watching. Miss Virginia Foster.
To her.
Auntie V, thanks for watching.
So I just want to let you know, I could keep talking, but you need to go. So I'm just letting you know so that I could say I let you know because you're like, hey, I got to go at 1.
Yes.
Where are you going?
Today, I've been asked to sing at a funeral at Wesleyan, and I also have to sing at a birthday party. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock respectively. At 5 o'clock, I'm in Elizabethan Square, and at 6 o'clock, I'm at the National Museum. At 6:50.
Yeah, busy day.
6:55. By 7 o'clock, I am home because I'm very grateful to the powers that be. And the powers that be says, I must be home by 7 p.m. And
where you live, West?
Look, yeah, I like to tell people I live in the Park of Windsor.
Oh, okay.
I like to go by Pasadena Place from time to time. Where you live? You still live up by Prospect?
I live West now.
West Bay?
Yeah, man.
Oh, the conquering Savior.
What song you singing at church at Wesleyan?
I've never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now. I'll be singing Drinking from My Saucer. It's a song in tribute, a tribute in song to the family. I've been requested to sing Drinking from My Saucer. I'd like to offer prayers to everyone who's lost loved ones in recent times. It seems as if there's a lot of death in our community. It is in dying that we're born into eternal life. We are the planet We are the part of the cosmos. We are a part of the universe. Actually, we never die. If we are prepared for what's to come next, we live forever. So we should be sad when a baby is born, or concerned. When someone dies, we should rejoice. But in our world, we do it the opposite way. We cry when someone dies, and we're sad when a baby is born. We get excited. What is the future of that young born baby? We don't know, unless you entrust and present that baby to God. We should be very concerned about the life of that baby just born. But the person who has exited terra firma and the spirit has gone on, if they're ready, they live forever. It is my intention for the remainder of time that I have left. I might exit at 50. I might exit at 75. I want to live the remainder of my life, Badir, in service to God, whatever that is. I must decrease as Christ increases. I mean, I want to become an actor. I want to be a singer. I want to be a superstar. But if that's not God's call for my life, it remains to be seen. And I'll end with this. Of course, you'll have the final say as the interviewer. I'll end with this, and I thank God for this opportunity. D.L. Moody once said, and I quote, "It remains to be seen what one man can accomplish who is totally surrendered to God." End of quote. Thanks for having me on. You have the last say.
No, well, that's great. I loved having you here. Thanks so much for agreeing to be on the show. And let's bring you back because there's so much more we can talk about.